As once again, welcome back here to a UEFA Champions League video. As today, I'm going to do something very, very different compared to what I usually do, as I will be doing a UEFA Champions League power rankings. Yes, inspired by the NFL's 32-team power rankings, I'm going to do the exact same thing, but with the UEFA Champions League. So instead of the 32 teams in the NFL, he will be the 36 teams in the UEFA Champions League. Because it is a league phase this year, it's similar to the NFL. So do you know what? Why not? I do that. UEFA Champions League power rankings 1 to 36. I will rate who will be the best team, who I think are the best team, and who I think are the favourites to win the UEFA Champions League after match day 1. Who knows? But let's find out. As rightio then, let's go underway with number 36. Number 36, Slovan Bratislava. Slovan Bratislava became the fourth side from Slovakia to ever qualify into the UEFA Champions League, the first time they've ever done it. However, in this league system, will it pay off? Will it not do? I personally think it won't. I think looking at the fixtures that Slovan Bratislava have, they have very, very tough fixtures, and I do think they will struggle on that run. If they can get a few points, then I think it will be okay. But for my opinion, I do think Slovan Bratislava will be in last place. I don't think they'll do great. They'll start off well, but for them, they're more happy to actually be here in the Champions League rather than not. Slovan Bratislava 36. Just of the north of Slovakia comes Czech Republic, and number 35th, I'm going for Sparta Praha. Now, Sparta Prague are a very good side, obviously, going into this. They are currently undefeated there in the Czech League, and I do think a trip to RB Salzburg will be a good result. I just think the other games that they've got the likes of Manchester City, Atletico de Madrid, Feyenoord, Inter Milan, and Bayer Leverkusen. I think them 4 games in particular, I think they will struggle on Sparta Prague. But don't get me wrong, they may go up in the power rankings, who knows. I'm saying, though, to start them off, just low, 35th place. Now, number 34, we go down there to Zagreb for Dinamo Zagreb. And granted, Dinamo Zagreb are usually the ones that regularly play in the Champions League. We obviously know that they're from Zagreb. They are a team that are well known in the Champions League. But I think number 34 is just because, well, they have Bayern Munich and AS Monaco the first 2 games. They are very, very tough games there for Dinamo. It does not surprise me if they do start it with 0 points. Because I tell you what, Bayern Munich at home, that will be a tough... Bayern Munich away, sorry. That will be a tough game. Then AS Monaco at home, that will be a tough game. I do think Dinamo will bounce back, though. But 34 is the right position there for me. Number 33, Crvena Zvezda, Red Star Belgrade. We all know Crvena Zvezda, I think, at this point. They've been in the Champions League 4 times in the last 7 seasons. They are a team that are well known in the Champions League, obviously winning the Champions League there in 1991, which not a lot of sides have actually won the Champions League in this list. The reason I've put them there in 33 is because, well, they've recruited well. I think on the 3rd of September, they did business, signing the likes of Radi Krunic there from Fenerbahce, and Silas, obviously, there from Stuttgart. Danny Aaron's one of Danny Aaron's favourite players. So, overall, I think Crvena Zvezda will do well. Joined with the Delia, they will obviously make some noise. Obviously, they will. It's a Champions League night in Belgrade. But, yeah, I'm starting them in the number 33. Who knows? They might do better now. They might do better from there. Number 32, let's go for the Swiss champions, BSA Young Boys. Young Boys already did something spectacular earlier on in the Champions League playoffs, beating Galatasaray away from home in Istanbul. Not many teams can do that. But for Young Boys, a trip at home to Aston Villa to start off the Champions League will certainly be tough. Obviously, Aston Villa, led under Unai Emery, will give a task. Villa did finish 4th in the Premier League. Young Boys obviously finished 1st. Young Boys, however, they've been struggling in the Swiss League. We do know that. They've been struggling. Obviously, drew on over to Lausanne. They're currently bottom of the Swiss League. But I'm sure they will come back in the Champions League, and I'm sure when they play Aston Villa, they will give them a game. However, I don't think they will win that one. That's why 32nd place for me goes to BSC Young Boys. I think they will struggle in the near future, but they will get some results, I'm certainly sure. And number 31, for the first time ever, Stade Brestois. I mean, for Brest, this is the pinnacle. This is where you are going to be. This is the pinnacle. They have never qualified into any European competition before. The one tournament that they do is the biggest of them all, the UEFA Champions League. And I do actually think Stade Brest will actually get some good results. They play Sturm Graz at home, RB Salzburg away, and then Bayer Leverkusen at home. That will be tough, but the ones that they will be looking at, Barcelona and Real Madrid, especially the Real Madrid at home one. I'm sure a lot of Brest fans will be licking their lips knowing that they have to play Real Madrid at home at their stadium. I tell you what, paradise if you're a Stade Brest fan, really, in my opinion. Even though I've put you 31st, I don't think they'll mind. So now in number 30, let's go for the Austrian champions of SK Sturm Graz. Now, Sturm Graz are a very interesting side, to be honest, because they haven't actually played in the Champions League since the year 2000-2001. So that shows to me that, well, Sturm Graz are not usually used to playing in this type of pedigree of European competition. So this will be the task. This will be how tough it will be. I mean, Sturm Graz obviously have a good side. They did win the Austrian League. That's what I said before. I believe they beat RB Salzburg in the last game of the season to win it. I could be wrong with that, though. The players that we'll be looking at to make an impact, however, Otar Kitishvili. If he can be alright, then they will be okay. If he gets injured, if there's any knocks, there will be a bit of concern. But Sturm Graz, for me, are 30. If they do play Stade Brestois in a 30v31st tie, who knows? Whoever wins that could potentially be going up in my power rankings. Number 29, let's go there for the Scottish champions of Celtic. Celtic have to do well in the Champions League this year. They have to do well. The last previous of years, they have disappointed. In the Champions League, they have disappointed. They may have a good home record at Celtic Park, but when they are playing away, they are not great in the Champions League. And Brendan Rodgers really needs to fix that. Otherwise, if they don't, Celtic will be sailing away from the Champions League rather than getting towards it. That's a Rod Stewart reference, by the way. But I think Celtic will do better. I do think they will do good. Obviously, with the likes of Kyogo Furiashi, with the likes of Arne Engels, the new player that they did sign there from Augsburg on a record free, I do think they will do better. However, they will have to win more games. They have Southern Bratislava first game. Perfect start that to get themselves off and running in the Champions League. So that is why I've ranked them 29. However, if they do lose that, they are in some deep trouble. Number 28, we will be going there to Italy with Bologna. I mean, this is an absolutely beautiful stadium to be playing Champions League football, in my opinion, here for Bologna. As well, they have done it. The first time in 60 years, they are playing in the Champions League. So why did I rate them so low? I think the loss of players will be a big loss there for them. Obviously, they lost the centre-back Riccardo Calafiori there from Arsenal, lost Joshua Zirkzee there to Manchester United. So that pretty much shown that, well, two key players there have gone. Also that when the manager, Thiago Motta, he went over to Juventus. So we've got Vincenzo Italiano. Still a very experienced manager, but he's never managed in the Champions League. So this will be a very, very intriguing task for him. Bologna, I think they will do okay, but it will be a struggle for them at first. Number 27, Shakhtar Donetsk. Now, we all know Shakhtar Donetsk, they're almost in it every year in the Champions League. You can see they've been in it for the past 7 seasons in the Champions League. So they are a Champions League, I don't want to say powerhouse, but they are a Champions League team, Shakhtar Donetsk. But I do think the fact that they have to play their games in Gelsenkirchen will be a bit of a problem instead of obviously playing in Ukraine because of the war. That will be a bit of a problem for them. However, they did get results last year. I believe they beat Barcelona and they almost beat FC Porto in Hamburg. So that's shown that they were a good team. They do place Bologna first, which will be an interesting game, similar to Sturm Graz v Brest, for me determining who goes up and down the power rankings. But let me tell you this, Shakhtar Donetsk are a team that do quite well in the Champions League, and I do think they will cause some shocks. But for the time being, I'm going temporarily there with this week, putting them at my number 27. Number 26, another Champions League side of Club Brugge. Club Brugge are always a weird side usually in the Champions League because you always expect them to, well, be in it, but you never expect them to, well, go through to the knockout stages. You never expect that there with Club Brugge. I don't think they will this year, but they will do what they usually do. Probably win about 1 or 2 games, and they'll have very good performances against the top teams. I mean, yeah, the best player by far there for Club Brugge, Hans van Aken, by far. He's obviously an influential part of Club Brugge, how they play, and if he plays well, they will play well. I mean, Club Brugge, the first 3 games have Dortmund, Sturm and Milan if they can win at least one of them, potentially draw one of them, they will do alright. But for Club Brugge, I'm putting them safe. I don't think they will make it through to the playoff round. That's why I'm saying they will finish in 26th place. In 25th, and the one that will just narrowly miss out of the Champions League playoff will be VfB Stuttgart will finish in 25th place. I know I'm going to go very unlucky, the fact that they will finish 25th. I just think in the Champions League, it's a whole different kettle of fish. It's a whole different kettle of board game. And I think for Stuttgart, they have tough fixtures. Like, they've got the likes of Real Madrid, Juventus, Atalanta, all having to play them, PSG and all having to play them. That will take an impact on Stuttgart. That will take an impact. I'm sure Sebastian Hoeneß will know what he's doing with his team. I just think there will be a little bit of struggle in between it. So that is why I'm going to say they will finish 25th, just missing out of the 24th place. Sorry, Stuttgart fans. Number 24, I'm going to put Girona on the list. Girona last year was probably one of the underdog stories in the world of football. How a side like that, who are usually mid-table, could end up having a miracle run where they end up finishing third in La Liga. Trust me, it was a miracle run there from Girona. Now they are playing in their first ever European competition in the Champions League. I think they'll do okay. I think they will do alright, and I do think they will clinch a playoff spot. I just think their squad depth, they've got a good squad depth. I know they've lost players such as Adam Dovbyk there to Roma. They did also lose Alex Garcia there to Bayer Leverkusen, but I still think Mikel's team will be alright, up and running in the Champions League. 24th place for them. 23rd place in this week's power rankings, Feyenoord. Just clinching that playoff place, I'm going to go for Feyenoord. And I do think that with Feyenoord, they've got a capable enough team to reach the playoff tie. The only thing that might be affecting them is who they play. They have to play the likes of Bayern Munich, Manchester City, Bayer Leverkusen, Lille, which will be tough games. Manchester City and Lille are both away from home. Bayer Leverkusen and Bayern Munich are at the Kuip. So that will be good. Another loss there for Feyenoord. Obviously losing Arne Slot to Liverpool, that will be a big loss for them. Also losing one of their players, Lutzel Gertrude, to RB Leipzig, that will be a loss there for Feyenoord. But I do think Brian Preska will take Feyenoord to the playoff places. That's why I've put them in 23rd. Number 22, AS Monaco. AS Monaco, back in the Champions League for the first time since the 2018-19 season, will want to do a whole lot better than they did that year. They did end up finishing last that year with a point. And I do think Adahuta will do well with this Monaco team. Obviously, he took them to the Champions League last year by finishing second in Ligue 1, 6 points ahead of Brest. Unfortunately, a couple points, 9 points away there from PSG, who ended up winning the league as always. And Monaco, they do have tough games, but they will be okay. Obviously, they've got Barcelona, Inter Milan, Benfica, Arsenal. They will all be tough. Aston Villa also at home will be a tough game. I do think, though, Monaco are capable enough to reach the playoffs with a 22nd place finish. This is the power rankings, though. Anything can happen. Number 21, give me LOS Lille. And for me, it's pretty simple why I have put them in this spot. These two players right here, Edin Žegrova and Jonathan David. I knew they were good players from the start, but I didn't know how good they really were. And after watching them 2 games against Slavia Prague, I realised Lille are a very, very good side and could potentially go far in this Champions League. Now their opening 3 fixtures doesn't suit them, as they do play Sporting away, Real Madrid at home, Atletico Madrid away. They are tough fixtures. But if Lille are able to stay contained, if they can David and Žegrova firing on front, Angel Gomez too, then they will be fine. 21st for me, seems reasonable. Number 20 goes to RB Salzburg. The first club we know to be in the new Club World Cup, RB Salzburg are my 20th place team. I just think Pep Lijnders will bring the best out of this Salzburg team. And I think they will play similar to how Liverpool did, obviously, under Jurgen Klopp. We know he was the assistant at Liverpool. So I think they will play that type of style, press and aggressive style of football. And I think the people that will obviously help that are the 2 Liverpool players, Bobby Clark and Stefan Bajcetic, and Moritz Kjærgaard. He's a very good player. He impressed in them Champions League playoffs against Dynamo Kiev. If he can do the same again, that would be the best case scenario. They actually have reasonable fixtures and all. They've got Slavia Prague, Brest and Dynamo Zagreb. If they can win 3 out of 3, perfect start for them. 20th for me, so far they are. 19th goes to the Portuguese giants of Benfica. See, Benfica for me are a very weird team because they actually have one very, very good team. Looking at the lineup that they did play against Santa Clara when they won 4-1, they had Nicolas Otamendi, Antonio Silva, Alexander Ba in the defence, Di Maria, Rossier and Karim Aktürkoğlu in the midfield. Then they have Okan Kucu and Florentino Luis. 2 very good midfielders. So Benfica, looking at that team, they have a really, really good team that can challenge. They never usually do well. And I do think sacking him there from Bruno Lage is interesting. It's interesting that Bruno Lage is the new manager of Benfica. But, well, we'll have to see what they do. I think 19th a reasonable position. They're like mid-table in this league. Number 18, Atalanta. Gianpiero Gaspini's Atalanta, coming off that Europa League victory, will want to do a whole lot better in the UEFA Champions League. And I think they will. I think there will be a side that will be very hard to beat. Obviously, it was known last year when they did beat Liverpool by 3-0 at Anfield that they were a very, very dangerous team. And I think in the Champions League, that will work a lot. Their 3 games are against Arsenal, Shakhtar and Celtic. If they could give Arsenal a game, that should be fine. Then I think Shakhtar and Celtic, I believe they should win. Number 17, PSV Eindhoven. PSV are simply unstoppable at the minute there in the Eredivisie. 5 games played, 15 points, a plus 17 goal difference. That shows how good they've been. They've only conceded 3 goals in, 5 games. That, my friends, is very, very good. In the Champions League now, they have been better. Obviously, they did qualify into the last 16. They did lose to the eventual Champions League runners-up Borussia Dortmund, which isn't too bad. But looking at PSV Eindhoven, you've got Juventus, Sporting Lisbon and PSG. Them 3 are tough games. But PSV are a side that never give up and are resilient. And if they can keep that resilience, they will keep this spot at 17th. 16th, let's go for Sporting Clube de Portugal. Who you are looking at is one of the most informed players in Europe right now. You might not know his name, but it's simple. He's a Swedish striker called Viktor Gyökeres, a former Coventry and St. Pauli player, and he is now ripping it up in Europe and in the Portuguese league. He is magnificent, Viktor Gyökeres. You could see he is a striker that will be one of the best. Potentially the next Ibrahimovic. Who knows? But I will tell you for sure, with Viktor Gyökeres up front, Sporting Lisbon, or Sporting Clube de Portugal, will be a force to reckon with. They are currently, like I said, similar to PSV, 5 out of 5, 19 goals, 2 conceded. They are red hot in form. And if they can keep it up, they will do perfect in this competition, I'm sure. Speaking of Zlatan, 15th place goes to the Rossoneri of AC Milan. Now, AC Milan are a side that haven't really done great in previous years in the Champions League, but I think this system will work very, very well for them. They're not doing great in the Serie A particularly. They are currently 10th, which obviously for their standards is absolutely poor. But they've got goals in them. They have goals in them. Obviously against Venezia, they won 4-0 thanks to goals from Tammy Abraham, Yusuf Fofana and Christian Pulisic. Pulisic is doing really good there at the Rossoneri. If he can keep it up, that would be key. This next week, though, massive for him. Liverpool and Inter Milan, obviously the big derby. If they can get results from them too, they might do well in this Champions League. In 14th place, I'm going to go for Aston Villa. Aston Villa, let's just say this, are an absolutely quality team. How they did end up getting 4th in the Premier League was a very good thing they did. First time they have ever qualified into the Champions League. The last time they did was when it was called the European Cup. So for Aston Villa, they will be hoping to repeat what they did in 1982, when the Villa boys from Aston won that UEFA Champions League. Now with Aston Villa, they've got really good fixtures at home. Really good fixtures. The likes of Bayern Munich, Celtic and Juventus are playing at home, which I'm sure for Villa fans will not be too shabby, and I'm sure I will be hearing Crazy Train in the UEFA Champions League in the next few weeks. Coming in on number 13, we have RB Leipzig. Now, a lot of people are tending to sleep on RB Leipzig this year. I'm certainly not doing. I think RB Leipzig will have an absolutely fantastic Champions League season, and I do think they will do very well in the league phase. Similar to Benfica, they have an absolutely quality side with the likes of Peter Glaci, Benjamin Hendricks, Kevin Campbell, Xavi Simons, Benjamin Šeško, and for me, the star striker Lois Openda. He is fantastic, and I do think a top club in the Premier League should have bought him instead of RB Leipzig because he was that good. At Arsenal, he were brilliant. But he went to Leipzig, which I think ended up being the best move for him, because now a lot of European clubs are on his radar, and I know why. Number 12, let's go for the Bianconeri of Juventus. First of all, I have to credit the shirt. I mean, that shirt is really good. It's that good. Even I have bought this Juventus. So that pretty much shows that that's a good shirt. But, yeah, I think with Juventus, they're a very good side. They are a good side under Thiago Motta. Obviously, I mentioned about him before, leaving Bologna to join Juve. I do think it's the right decision for him, because then it can show how well of a coach he really is. Juve, starting off strong in the Serie A, 3rd place in the minute. They've got a home tie against PSV Eindhoven. That should be good. That should be a good tie to start off, potentially with 3 points. But don't underestimate PSV, like I said before. They will be a side on a lot of people's radar. But for Juventus, I think 12th's okay. 11th goes to Bayer Leverkusen, aka the best ever German side. Yes, Bayer Leverkusen, I am going to put 11th. I would put higher, but they're not used to the Champions League yet. This for Xabi Alonso will be his next test. He's never, well, managed in the Champions League properly. So the fact that he is managing this team, this invincible side, to the Champions League should be very, very interesting. I believe there will be doubts in between, because obviously Bayer Leverkusen aren't really used to the Champions League. They're more used to the Europa League. But still, I reckon Bayer Leverkusen should have a successful season. That's why I'm saying they will reach the playoffs very comfortably with 11th place. 10th, however, will go to another German giant of Borussia Dortmund. Now, Dortmund fans, don't panic, because in my opinion, you have the easiest draw. You've been drawn the easiest opponents, in my opinion. Looking at the teams that Dortmund have, that barring Barcelona and Real Madrid, they've got Shakhtar Donetsk, Club Brugge, Celtic, Dinamo Zagreb, Sturm Graz and Bologna. They should be winning at least 6 of them, in my opinion, Dortmund. I do think they will go up gradually. That's why I've only put them 10th. I do think for Dortmund fans, their ratings will go up. I just think new season, obviously new manager, new Shahin taking charge. I think there will be some stuff that will be a bit, well, has to get transitioned first, has to get, well, get used to first. But for you, BVB, Borussia Dortmund, don't panic. I think you'll do just fine. Number 9 goes to Atletico de Madrid. Diego Simeone's men are unbeaten in La Liga after 5 games, 11 points off 5, and I do think Atletico Madrid will keep that form up just, well, lightly. The first 3 games, actually, they've got tough games. They have Lille, Benfica and RB Leipzig, but I do think ride the storm, forget about them games. I think they will do just fine. Them 3 will be tough. I do think Atletico, knowing how much quality they have, they will win, but it will be tough. It will be tough. I do think Atletico Madrid will do really well, obviously with the new signings of Julian Alvarez, Alexander Sørloth, Conor Gallagher and all them, but I just think at first they need to settle down and then hopefully get a little bit better. That's why I'm going to put them in 9th. 8th goes to Hansi Flick's FC Barcelona. Barcelona have been very, very impressive this year. That's why I've put them 8th. I think Barcelona will be a threat in this Champions League. Looking at Hansi Flick's 5 fixtures, they have scored a total amount of 17 goals. 11 goals in 2 games, in fact. The 7-0 against Real Valladolid and then the 4-1 win against Girona. That has made them get 11 goals and only 1 conceded. That is good. That is very good. And never doubt Hansi Flick. Hansi Flick's a manager that can transform a side. Obviously, he did it with Bayern Munich when he came in. Won the Champions League that year. He could do a similar thing to Barcelona. However, I do think the experience will be a bit of a problem. Obviously, with Lamine Yamal, Pau Kubasi, both two fantastic footballers, especially Lamine Yamal, we've seen him in the Euros. But I do think experience will matter in the Champions League. And with a 36-year-old Robert Lewandowski, that will work. Potentially, Frenkie de Jong will do better and all. To say he's 27 and he's going to be one of the experienced ones, that's going to be a tough task. But I do think they will do it just fine. That's why Barcelona will be going through directly to the last 16 in 8th place. Number 7 goes to Arsenal. Tell this to an Arsenal fan 5 years ago that they will be above the likes of Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund and Juventus. They would be absolutely kicking themselves. Guess what, my friends? I think it's true in 2024. I think Arsenal will be in 7th. I've predicted them to be 7th on my power rankings because I think they are that good. I do think they are a very good and experienced side. A lot of people have actually said Arsenal to finish 3rd or 4th. I think 7th is alright. I just think for Arsenal, they lack that European experience. I get they got all the way to the quarterfinals, but when they faced a team like Bayern Munich, a Bayern Munich side that was the worst it was for like 12 seasons, they ended up crumbling and losing to Bayern. So that to me shows that, well, they've got that experience on the mind. Let's see again. I think they will do better, but I do believe that European stroke, when they get to the quarterfinal stages, is what matters with Arsenal if they claim to be a very good side, which I know they are, but we'll have to see if they are in Europe. Ironically, I'm going to say number 6 will be Bayern Munich. Guess what, Bayern Munich? You're above Arsenal again. You've topped them off again. And I am going to say Bayern Munich at number 6. It will be a rebuild year this year. Obviously, sacking Thomas Tuchel for Vincent Kompany is a very, very tricky decision, but it is a decision that has well paid off so far. They are 3 from 3 in the Bundesliga. They are undefeated. Got 11 goals, 3 conceded. They are doing very well. And with the potent firepower of Harry Kane, Michael Olise, Jamal Musiala, they will do just fine. That's why Bayern Munich, for me, will be in 6th place. 5th place goes to the Nerazzurri of Inter Milan. You always know Inter Milan defensively are going to be one of the best teams in the Champions League. You know that. And they have one of the best attackers in Europe right now, of Lautaro Martinez. He is one very potent striker. You could obviously see that in the Copa America with Argentina. Now, with Inter Milan facing Manchester City, Crvena Zvezda and Young Boys, they should be aiming to win at least 2 of them. The Young Boys and Crvena Zvezda one. Manchester City, they did give a performance out of them in the Champions League final, but they are playing away from home at the Etihad. Do I think they'll get a good result? Ish. It will be very close though. But I think Inter Milan will do very, very well. Under the mastermindship of Simone Inzaghi, they will finish in 5th place. Top 4 now. 4th goes to Paris Saint-Germain. Do you know what? I actually like the way PSG are doing business this year. I mean, last year, they obviously had Kylian Mbappe and wanted to try and build a team around him. That didn't work. This year, they're trying to build a primarily young team with the face of probably Ousmane Dembele, the main man in that. And I think that might work, you know, for PSG. Obviously, they've had all these years where they get all the top stars like Messi, Neymar, Ibrahimovic, Cavani. That hasn't worked. Now, they've got a primarily young side, and that team last year went to the semi-finals, which was the best PSG have got done, barring from that 2020 COVID season where they got to the Champions League final. So I do think that for PSG, they will do good in 4th. And they've got easy fixtures and all. They've got Girona, Arsenal and PSV. Not exactly as easy as I thought. But do you know, if PSG can get some results on the board, that's what it is. Win-win. Top 3 now. And number 3, I'm going to put Liverpool on my list. I'm going to put Liverpool 3rd because we all know what they're like in the Champions League, Liverpool. They're a side that even when they're bad, they can go all the way to the semi-finals. That is what Liverpool do. It's like built in their DNA that Liverpool go far in the Champions League. And they are also a very good side in the Premier League. I know I'm recording this after they lost 1-0 to Nottingham Forest, but I do think Liverpool have a capable squad. And I do think they have a squad that can challenge with the top teams in this league phase. Some games will be tough for Liverpool. I do know that. Even the game at the San Siro against AC Milan, that will be tough. But then they have easier fixtures like Bologna, Girona and Lille. Them fixtures are the ones they should really be winning if they are targeting a top 3 finish, where I've put them in 3rd. Number 2, the winners of last season's Champions League, Real Madrid. The obvious winners of the Champions League last season, Real Madrid, I'm going to put in number 2. Just because they have been struggling in La Liga. You can see, with the addition of Kylian Mbappe, they struggled a lot. They have struggled. Not like struggle like lose most games, but they've just struggled, Real Madrid. They haven't been the same Real Madrid as we know. They've been, well, carving out results. Obviously, the result against Las Palmas, against Mallorca, against Real Betis, they carved out results. They weren't the dominant Real Madrid as we know that tend to win a lot of games. They weren't like that. But I do think Real Madrid, obviously the kings of the Champions League, we all know what they're going to do. They will do good, great stuff. They will probably win most of the games, just like who I'm going to put on number 1. But I'm going to put Real Madrid in number 2, just because they've been a little bit shaky this season. And number 1 goes to Manchester City. I'm sorry, but we all know what these are like now at this point. We all know that Manchester City are a juggernaut of a team that tends to win most of their games. We all know that. And actually, this league phase might not be great for City, because obviously in the Premier League, they are a team that, well, struggles at the start, but then at the end they can win about 20-30 matches in a row. That's what Manchester City do. So the start of this league phase may be a bit of a struggle, but I highly doubt it with this calibre players. Arguably the best team in the world with Real Madrid. Them two teams are far ahead of the rest, in my opinion, and in a lot of others' opinion. And with Manchester City, I can just see them winning every game. They've got easy fixtures and all, Manchester City, don't you forget that. They have the party Brugge, Juve, Feyenoord, Sporting Lisbon, Sparta Prague and Slovan Bratislava. They should be trying to win all of them games. All of them. If they want to finish first, they have to win all them games. Because if not, they're going to be going down in my power rankings, and I think in a lot of people's. So that is why, for the time being, I think Manchester City is the best team in the world right now. That's why I'm going to put them in number 1. And just like that, that concludes the first ever Champions League power rankings done by Rambo. We will be back week 2 for the exact same Champions League power rankings, match day 2. Who I think will go up, who I think will go down. Who knows? This Champions League will surely be an unforgettable one, but it will surely be one very entertaining tournament to watch for the viewers. As just like that then, I will get going, I will go. See you soon, stay safe, talking to you then in the next one. See ya, and bye-bye.